jump into some Heisman talk because the updated numbers here are pretty exciting here. We start off, I mean, the reason I'm excited to talk about this year is usually we're like, okay, who's the best quarterback or which quarterback is going to have the best statistical year? And this season, we have a little bit of excitement thrown in the mix because we have two extremely special, unique players that do not play quarterback. One, who you just mentioned, is Ashton Jeanty, who very well, I mean, he's unless he gets hurt, he's going to hit 2,000 yards pretty easily. He might finish the year closer to 3,000 than 2,000. And then we have Travis Hunter, who plays almost every snap, is one of the top wide receivers in the league, and has had a couple game-changing defensive plays. I mean, a game-winning forced fumble against Baylor, and then another huge pick last week that kind of shifted the game to CU against UCF. So these two exciting players, to me, make this conversation a little bit more unique than like, let's just talk about quarterbacks for 15 minutes. Do you think either one of these guys has a legitimate shot to win the Heisman? Not be up for it, not go to New York, but actually win it.
Well, if they don't, then that's just broken. I think that they really do, though, because Travis Hunter is so unique. He's just become something that it's hard to say we've never seen, but we might have never seen something like this ever. So
right.
to play like, about 2,000 snaps a game and to be as good as he is on both sides of the ball, and to consider that he could be a top 10 pick at either wide receiver or cornerback, and he might be better at wide receiver now, is just insane. So he's truly unique, and he should win because of what he's doing on both sides of the ball. But Ashton Jeanty is on pace to break Barry Sanders' records.
Yeah.
And I wrote that up before I went to bed. I was at like 1 o'clock at whatever it was, and I was like, because I was realizing before the game was even over, I was like, how is this happening? Because and Barry Sanders, the records have been standing for 36 years for single season rushing and single season rushing touchdowns, around 2,600 something yards for rushing, and like 37 touchdowns or so for rushing touchdowns. And Ashton Jeanty is on pace for over 2,700 rushing yards through like 13 game pace, and that's if they don't make the playoff in the last spot, and on pace for like 42 rushing touchdowns. So if he doesn't win with that, then we shouldn't even have the award be for the best player. It's just best quarterback. So he will win if he does that down the stretch.
Even over Travis Hunter, if Travis Hunter
he
continues
will.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, because Travis Hunter is just like, if you put 2,700 rushing yards up and you break Barry Sanders' record, if you have a vote, I'm sorry, it is revoked now. If you don't
even
vote
if
for
it's the Mountain West, they're going to be playing Wyoming. They're going to be playing like,
you know what? They know it's coming and they can't stop it. So he's averaging 10.3 yards per carry right now. 10.3, and like, it's not like
when you're playing the video game and this happens, you're like, I need to adjust. I need to move up. I need to move up to Heisman. This is too easy.
And he's like, real life, no, I'm just breaking it more than you would on freshman difficulty in a video game.
Yeah. All right. So I don't like that take at all, Travis, because I really want Hunter to win this thing. And I think Hunter can if he stays healthy, because I think Shedeur has to stay healthy too, because I don't know if Schaub or whatever the backups, and who cares. I don't know if he's going to be able to deliver the football to Travis the way that Shedeur can. But speaking of Shedeur, he's not on like the top 10 favorites for the Heisman, which is probably a good thing for Travis Hunter. But I don't see his name on here when I looked this morning. The top two quarterbacks right now, and there's a huge jump. I mean, it's Jalen Milroe at plus 175, and then at plus 500, who's the next highest player, is Cam Ward. So right now it looks like it's Jalen Milroe's to lose. Now, a couple weeks ago, it was Carson Beck's to lose. Like, so it can all happen really, really fast. Carson Beck has dropped down to like 8th or something like that, tied with Quinn Ewers and Miller Moss at plus 2,500. So you mentioned earlier that like maybe his NFL draft stock has dropped a little bit. Well, his Heisman hype has dropped a ton, and Arch Manning's nowhere to be seen. I hope to God that you are not one of the people that put your money on that. I know you weren't. I'm talking to our 42 listeners right now.
Yeah, so no, I'm not one of those people. And Arch Manning, what he's doing is insane. And by the meaningful metrics, it's hard to deny that he's actually been a top 5 quarterback in all of college football when he's started, because he kind of has, just objectively so, by everything that matters. But no, I'm not one that bet on him. Jalen Milroe, it's really tough to deny when you look at what he's doing. Does he have the crazy passing volume numbers that are typically required to win the Heisman? No. But what he does have is crazy high rushing efficiency and just the big play, like already Heisman moments on his resume now. And so already having like 8 rushing touchdowns to this point in the season. So for whatever reason, the Heisman people really love like just overall total touchdowns and that stat, which touchdowns are fluky anyway. But what he's doing on the ground and through the air is remarkable. So it's really, I mean, I know that Dart had his mess up this week, but he's still very much in the mix. Ward is still very much in the mix. He almost Miami almost blew it too, but yeah, Milroe, just because of fresh off of beating Georgia, it's hard to deny that he's just an obvious favorite.
Yeah, and this is probably not the right time to bet him. Last week would have been the right time to bet him. This would probably be the right time to bet like a Jackson Dart or a Nico Yamaleave. A player that's ahead of both of them in the race right now is Dylan Gabriel, quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, and he might very well break a bunch of records here. His completion percentage is insane right now. A lot of it's dink and dunking. I don't really see a path to Dylan Gabriel winning the Heisman outside of an undefeated season for Oregon, in which he continues to put up numbers. But the second we get a loss, we being Oregon, I think he drops and might not even get to New York.
Yeah.
To me, I would not, even with it being plus 1,400, to me, that's not a good value bet.
No. And for whatever reason, their passing game's just been weird this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that before on another episode. And as soon as it gets right, it gets weird again. And last week, Tez Johnson, they did finally use him vertically a little bit, which was refreshing on one of the touchdowns, especially. But they're not airing it out like I thought they would to hopefully get Dylan Gabriel like to the records. Like he's moving up the leaderboard. He's like right there. His completion percentage is just through the roof. It's still over 80%, which is crazy. But because his average depth of target's like negative 19 yards, so it's just a lot of boom bust with not very much intermediate execution. And part of that, I think, is because of Gabriel's slight physical limitations to really like zip it in there, like on a really tough intermediate throw. A lot of systems haven't really asked him to do that a whole lot anyway. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I would actually still much prefer Jackson Dart. I know that right now that's like, wait, what? You're insane, Travis. Didn't we just see them lose? Yes, but that's exactly why.
Plus 2,000.
Right now is yeah, because his everything stats are still through the roof. And as much as people like to say that they care about the overall picture and don't just overvalue any one stat, he's still probably going to lead most meaningful categories by the end of the season, unless something weird happens. So, and we'll get to my, I guess right now is better than any to really talk about the updated quarterback model, because he's still number 1 in terms of the numbers that matter in predicting future NFL draft capital.
Jackson Dart.
Yes, in the fourth quarter, it did not go well for him. He had a couple errant throws and decisions. But even so, he's still, by all the meaningful metrics, adjusted yards per attempt, it's over 13 still, which is like breaking football. His passer rating's over 200. All his yards per game, touchdowns per game, all those stats are silly still. And so like the counting stats, the Heisman voters, they love that. Like at the end of it. So if he keeps winning and doesn't have a big kind of mess up at all down the stretch, he's going to be in the mix, if not the favorite when it's all said and done. So I know that coming off a loss, that sounds weird, but that's exactly why you lean into it now.
Yeah, like we said, like this is the wrong time to bet Jalen Milroe. It's the right time to bet him. A guy that I kind of want to put a bet on. Again, I already told you I can't. But Quinn Ewers for me, he's about to come back. He's going to come back just in time for Oklahoma and then Georgia. Like he's coming down or coming back for the right time to make a case. To me, if he's able to take Texas to the SEC championship game, he's going to be right there in the mix. And I don't think people are going to hold missing a game against ULM and whoever else they played against him. I think he still ends up, while maybe not having all the counting stats, like the per game type numbers, I could see him. So at plus 2,500, I just think that's a really great value right now.
Yeah, I think he could definitely climb up into the mix, and the pressure is going to be on. He's got this prime opportunity to prove himself and that he's still better than Arch Manning.
Yeah, like he's being pushed, right? Like he's being
Yeah.
pushed internally. And I think for competitors, like people like you and me, Travis, like we get up for that kind of stuff. I think Quinn Ewers will too.
Like you and me. Yes. We're definitely on par with Division
Dude,
One college athletes
your
at this
flag
point.
football, my volleyball league. Come on,
Yeah.
buddy. We're
Yeah.
athletes.
Super high pedigree athletes right here. But yeah, I think that if it was a little bit more than plus, I mean, once you get it to plus 2,500, it's very low implied probability, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like sub 4%, but especially
Which
like
I just think that number's off on Quinn Ewers. You know,
yeah,
I think it should be higher.
yeah,
Is
that's
basically
fair.
what I'm telling people.
Yeah, I think it should be a little bit higher, and the plus 2,000 on Jackson Dart should be much higher.
Yeah. And then your thoughts, one more name I just want to hear you talk about for a second here is just Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback for Tennessee. You know, he hasn't been asked to do a ton. They had that big win against Oklahoma, but they're about to be playing some very high profile games.
Yeah, I think he's still in the mix, but he's probably overpriced at being like plus 1,400 just because of what Tennessee's been able to do as an overall offense. Now, if they do win one of these games against Alabama or Georgia, probably going to change because the hype is already he's already the $8 million man.
Right.
So, and he's already on this offense that's high flying. But I think Oklahoma's defense put on display how you could at least slow them down, and I think that that showed that Nico is still human, and so I think that will be revealed to us again against Alabama and Georgia. Like this is just the year. Like he is so special and he is so good, but we're just a year ahead at this point. So his Heisman year is next year, probably not this year.
Yeah. I like that take. And they're still, I mean, they're still going to have so many weapons there. Let's